Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Intro.
This is the Ink Pulp Podcast.
Doesn't that look professional? Doesn't it look like Shawn knows what he's doing?
Almost looks like that, yeah.
It was almost like a real show instead of the freaking mess that it is right now. Hold on. I'm going to take Shawn, I'm going to turn this thing off because Maddie's here and I don't want it to be like over his image. You know what I mean? Here we go. You were going to go brandless for like a hot minute. There it is.
All right. That's cool.
I don't mind that bullet is over your face, but we shouldn't have it over our guest's face. Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Kennedy. This is my pal, Shawn Matteo. Shawn. Let's start over. Hello, everybody. My name is Eric, and this is Shawn Crystal, and we have our amazing guest. Not really. I have to say things like that so it sounds nice, but it's Matteo Scalera. Hand of applause.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
How are you, man?
Good. Thanks good to see you, man.
Thanks for making time. This is what time? You are 12 hours ahead, 8 hours ahead. Which one?
77 hours ahead.
No, that can't be true.
I'm in the future. It's 6 p.m. on a Thursday.
6 p.m. Holy
2046.
How are you holding up? What did he say?
2046.
Is that why you look so fucking old, dude? You're like way ahead.
Fuck off.
Listen, can I ask you something? Is there a piece of art behind you that belongs to me? That's all I care about. Am I daily inspiring you?
I have two in front of me. You can see.
Oh, shit. You got the prime real estate.
You hear that, Shawn? I'm in front of him.
Yeah, you got the prime
So
real
this
estate.
is gonna-
Actually, like my table covers the wall, so I can see it through. There's holes.
Yeah.
In front of me, so I can see your art through holes because I can take it.
That's what I'm saying. Like you need to filter it out because if you got the full blown version of me, you would never get any work done. It's just like staring right into the sun sometimes, you know?
I like to constantly go to the bathroom otherwise. So
yeah, it's an inspiration and also a laxative.
Yeah, it's
what you're saying is what I'm hearing is that it keeps you regular, you know, like it inspires you, but also flushes stuff out. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to this? Have you ever listened to this podcast before? You can say no.
No, never. I was actually surprised. No, to be honest with you, like I was actually surprised to see you hosting. So I'm
typically not hosting because if I leave it to Shawn cannot carry.
Apparently,
you know what I mean?
Okay, gotcha.
It's his podcast, but I can like if I leave him to himself, Matteo, it is a dude. Just between you and me, I know Shawn's not listening. He's just looking at
Shawn. Covers your ears.
This guy, this is a fucking mess, right? The reason why he invites me is because of these conversational skills that I have. As a matter of fact, I was the one that said, "Hey, let's bring Matteo over." Right? If it was up to Shawn, he'd just turn on the camera and look at it for like 25 minutes. I had to come up with that.
Is there a problem with that?
Like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah. He's just like enamored by his own vision on his screen. Okay, so you were surprised that I was hosting because you've never watched
I was
the
about
show.
to ask, but then you started talking, so I didn't want to interrupt. I was like, but when you said, "Okay, let's press record," I was like, "What? Are you in charge of that now?"
Yeah.
So, what?
Yeah, because second, like the other part, the fact that Shawn cannot carry, right, a conversation.
Yeah.
He also has what I think to be Windows 95. I think that's what he's working with right now. Like an old school Windows 95. And also his internet is still like AOL dial-up. Did you hear it when you signed on? It was making that modem noise, that so it's purely a contingent because any second now his wife can go pick up the phone and you'll be able to hear her to be like, "Hello, is someone using the phone?" So technology is on.
He's actually a little behind in the conversation, so he's gonna laugh like in 20 minutes because it's behind. It's lagging so much.
When we hang up, he's gonna fucking laugh.
Yeah.
Hey, dude. Jokes aside, it's so nice to see you. I don't know if I ever saw you at all this year, right? Because I didn't do too many. Did we see it all?
No, we haven't seen each other since COVID. We're supposed to be seeing each other March 2020, where me, Shawn, and I were supposed to be
That's right.
coming to your place
Right.
Yep.
in Oregon first, and then we were supposed to be traveling together to Seattle.
You're right.
And then
Right.
boom, COVID. Like,
Hey, do you want to go to Oregon after Seattle this year?
I can't, man.
Too much
I
time.
wish I could, but with family.
You got stuff at home. Yeah. Well, that's
So
what
I can't-
happens when you
can't
don't
stay
wear
away from
protection,
home.
you know?
I'm learning the hard way.
Okay, so you've never seen this show before. Do you know what we end up talking about?
No, that's what I was texting Shawn literally 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Saying like, what are we gonna talk about?
We're going to talk about you, buddy. We ended up talking about you last week,
Okay.
right?
That's what I didn't get because now you're doing the thing. Both of you are doing it, so I'm the guest. I'm the only guest.
You're the guest.
Okay,
You're
I
the
thought
guest.
we were.
Yeah.
two
So
guests.
basically, Matteo, since Eric didn't do a good job of explaining anything, except you two just dumping on me for 20 minutes, it's still my show.
6 minutes. So dramatic.
Eric and I.
It's still your show. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's still my show. Eric and I started doing it together, and people liked it, so we kept doing it. Now, Eric at the time was the only one with a subscription to StreamYard, which is the service we're recording through right now. And so he was able to set it all up and get all the branding on there. I've since subscribed as well, so I could do it, but Eric's old hat at this.
So Eric is gonna drop you soon.
Pretty much. I'll be
I'm just going to
kicked
change
out of my own
all the
show.
branding.
You
I'm
can
never
have
sending him
Ink
any of the
Pulp.
footage.
I'm just going to hand all Ink Pulp over to Eric because
It's actually gonna happen at the end of this episode.
Oh,
He's gonna
that's
drop you. That's the main.
Right.
That's it. I've come
so
to
I
realize
should go
that
get.
I don't
I
need
should go get a
Shawn.
new career or something, maybe
Something else. Car sales or something. you
car
know?
sale. Maybe bartending.
On top of it all, right? We just end up shooting this shit, right? And the last time that we talked, I was like, well, I haven't talked to Matteo in forever. We ended up talking about your work. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we talked about was like when I first met you and I sent you that photo of you and me at Seattle for the first year. Remember how young we were? Well,
Yeah.
I'm still young. So
I
like,
got up to you. Yeah.
I remember some of the work that you were producing back in the day. I still even have the drawing that you did of me when you were still using markers, when you were still using Copics that one time, right?
Yeah.
And so we were talking about how when you were, what was that? Hulk? I think that was right around that time when you were doing Savage Avengers and Hulk. Was that the period?
I was doing like Secret Avengers. Yeah, I think it was like 2012 through 2013. Those years.
But stylistically, you were still finding yourself. So here's how we got on the topic. We wanted to, we were talking about how at one point Mignola was doing a certain amount of work, and all of a sudden something happened, and next thing you know, like he was the Mignola, and it was way before Hellboy, right? It was like somewhere in the body of his work, and we were also talking about like Adam Hughes, and then your name came up because I was remembering Matteo was still looking for the thing that defined him, right?
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, I can't remember what convention it was, where you just showed up and started doing these commissions. And I thought like, Jesus Christ, this guy is getting good. Or he turned the corner and suddenly you found your voice. You found that thing that made people go like, we're going to hire that guy forever. Right. Mm. And I think it was just right at the beginning of Black Science. You were already starting to come up with stuff where it's like, oh, that's distinctly Matteo's stuff there that I'm seeing. It's all the amalgamation of all your influences, right? It was all sort of like, and then Black Science is where you were effectively training everything,
Yeah. Okay.
And then, and I said like, and I'll just be perfectly honest with you, we got, Shawn was like, have you seen any of this Mr. Freeze stuff? And I was like, I saw it and I want to talk to him about it because it's not my favorite work. I saw it and I was just like, I know that Matteo's always the kind of guy. And I remember, spending time with you in Italy, and you were always like, I always want to learn. I always want to try different things. I never want to do just the same exact thing over and over again. But for me, the high bar, right? For me, like, I don't think he's ever, and I was joking with Shawn, like, I don't think he's ever going to get any better than, is it King and Spies? King and Spies?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is Matteo punching way above his weight. That is Matteo, Mike Tyson, just a terry cloth going into the ring and destroying guys at right. Like that's the aspirational stuff, in my opinion. 10 years, generations from now, people will look at that work. I'm like, that's the same way we look at Mignola, same way we look at Adam Hughes, same way we look at Jason Pearson, all those guys. Like, we will take a look at that and be like, that's the, we were talking about Kevin Nolan too. Like, that's the body of work that people are going to go to. Like, it probably didn't get any better than that. And I was saying, like, Mr. Freeze, right? The Batman, Mr. Freeze stuff is just Matteo just shitting the bed. Like, he went to the very, very top and just said, from here on down, everything's just downhill. I was semi-joking, So we wanted to talk to you about.
Thank you.
No. It's everything from here on down is just bad. You know what I mean? Just guaranteed.
Absolutely. The title is just one bad day, so it's not going to be good.
Yeah,
you're just counting the days until you become irrelevant, until you go into bartending, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm already preparing,
Let's open a bar together. We can do this together. We can open
Yeah. That's basically like this whole thing is a pitch for me to talk to Shawn about our new business together.
Right. Our new business. I'll take over the podcast. You guys start your liquor business.
It's the Fratelli Bar.
There it is. Bar. Hey, so where do you mark that time? Have you marked your body of work? Have you gotten to the business of like, this is some of my best work, or like, I really feel good in this, the pages that I'm producing right now? Have you done anything like that? Have you sort of like made a like a marker in your head? It was like, oh, I really turned the corner here.
To be honest with you, no, because I don't know, I've always, even at the beginning when I knew that my stuff, needed a lot of improvement, and I still think it, but I definitely improved since then. I've always, I was always, I don't know, I liked looking back at my stuff, and I still find stuff in there that I like.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the thing that you said about King of Spice, I'm really happy about the stuff that I did with it, but I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you, like, because every time I do a project, then I start to think about what I'm gonna do with the next one.
Yeah.
And for me, it's all, as you said, it's all learning. So I'm already thinking, okay, with King of Spice, I studied and I did specific stuff that I wanted to learn, new methods of work.
Like what?
All the stuff. Sorry?
Can you explain what those new methods were, stuff you were studying?
Yeah, there's two things mainly. Is one is, since King of Spies takes place in various parts of the world, and it's in the present time, so it's not sci-fi and stuff like that. Most of the time, it's like, okay, we're in Paris. Right. We're here, we're there, we're in Italy, in a specific part of Italy. We're in the Vatican. At a certain point, there's a part of the story that takes place in the Vatican. So I needed to, every setting and every environment to be really recognizable. So I started beforehand. I took some time to prepare myself, like, visually. So I literally built, for every issue, I have like a main folder divided by issues. And for every issue, there's every issue folder is divided in mini folders, each one for a page. So I collected all the references that I needed for each individual panels, like a specific car, a specific building that I wanted to be there. And I'm starting to use that method for the everything else I'm gonna do. So it's gonna take me some more time at the beginning, because it's gonna take a few days to collect all that stuff. But once I have to start working, the whole process become way smoother. I don't know how to say.
Yeah.
Because I already have all the images that I need. So, okay, I'm going to work on today on page 3, for example. I open my page 3 folder and I have all the images that I need, and I don't have to look around, keep, searching on Google Images and stuff like that, because everything is ready. So the process is way smoother. Like, one thing that always created problems for me when it came to, work on something that already existed, like, New York now,
Mhm.
specific
Mhm.
buildings and stuff like that. It was always that constant jumping from the page. So being focused on the page and what I was drawing, and then, so I need a building here. Okay, let me look for a building, and I will lose focus. With
Mm.
this, it's just a quick look, and I don't lose focus, and I'm still
Yeah.
on the page. So that thing is that thing that I'm bringing, to the next, projects for sure.
That sounds
And
like a what do you call it though, Maddie? That sounds like like maturity, but in the more utility sense, right? Like
yeah,
it seems like sure in a sort of like in an ancillary way, in a side way, it helps your craft because like you said, it allows you to just focus. You don't have to like,
yeah,
oh, I don't know what this is, and I got to go look it up, and now I got to find a way to ramp
yeah.
back up to drawing
Yeah,
again,
it
right?
comes from looking at your craft and
Yeah,
the way you work, and find the spots the things that you're not completely happy with.
interesting. Yeah,
And I'm like, okay, I gotta find for this new project. I'm gonna find a new method in
yeah,
order to kind of going around that problem, or either solve it or make it better. You know,
yeah, yeah. Okay,
and
that's interesting.
yeah, and another thing that I learned as I was doing King of Spies, I started, and this didn't happen since the first issue, but it slowly happened as I was going.
Mhm.
I started doing really detailed layouts for pages,
Really, really.
super detailed. Almost like the last issue is basically I blew up the layouts, and I
Mhm.
just printed them out and
Okay,
just
do
traced
you
them.
have copies of that somewhere? Tell me that you have it somewhere, that you've made like scans of it so that we can show it off to a bunch of different people.
Yeah, I have them. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, for sure. I can show you the ones that I'm doing now for the other projects, just
sure.
so that you can see
But we've
the.
already agreed that every project after King of Spies is just awful, right? It's just the
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
downward.
absolutely. Okay, no,
Okay,
you're right.
let's.
You're right. But maybe
We
the
want to prep.
layouts.
We want to prep our audience because, like, they might be like, "Oh my gosh, we get to see more King of Spies," and the next thing you know, we get to see Mr. Freeze, and it's just like, "Oh, that's so fucking underwhelming."
So, do you want to see them now? Do you want me to show you now?
Yeah, why not? It's
Sure.
I know that when we get feedback, when Shawn has gotten feedback, or when I have at the shows the few shows that I did last year, they
Mhm.
love they love our back and forth, our conversations, right?
Yeah,
But they also, the biggest one I heard was, hey, you guys don't talk about your craft enough. You guys don't talk about process enough. You guys
yeah.
just shoot the shit a lot, right? So if you bring stuff up, it would be telling people to shut the fuck up because we know what we're doing.
So, how do you want me to share them?
Yeah,
Is there a
Eric.
share? Is there a share button on your end?
Uh, 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 uh,
Can you give the whole screen over to Matteo during the podcast?
I
Okay.
have present here that maybe is
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that's got to be
screen
it.
That's it.
share.
That's
Yeah,
got
that's
to
it.
be it.
You want me to click it and try?
Yeah, man. Yep.
Don't click it.
Okay, it's like share screen. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Did it come up?
Okay, let me. Oh, I can share a specific folder actually. Yeah.
Oh, an entire folder, yo. Here we go.
You see it? Did something happen?
Whoa, what just happened?
Yep.
Matteo, what's that porn folder?
want me to show you that?
No, I'm gonna get kicked off of YouTube. All right, let's do it. Let's look. Holy crap, man! Look how organized you are. There's a level of organization.
Much respect. Much
This is-
respect.
So
Can
is
you see
Shawn
it,
the
or is
oldest?
it's a little too small?
It's a little small. It's a little small.
I want to. Okay, let me see if I open it with. So, oh, you're not seeing the preview part. Okay, no.
Share the preview tab.
Yeah.
Okay, let me open the whole thing in preview.
Yeah, that's it. That's the way to do it. Look at this. Would you know what button to press, Shawn, if I wasn't here?
Would
Okay.
I?
Yeah.
Are you pressing buttons?
Yeah, I'm pressing buttons.
What buttons are you pressing?
I'm pressing the buttons that make this look like a professional freaking show. You know, like
No, you're not pressing buttons. Mateo's
I swear to God, I am. I promise. He's
Alright.
sharing it. It's coming up on my screen. I have to press the button that allows it to go big on the side like that.
Okay. Let me see. Okay.
How you doing, Shawn? We didn't do our typical.
I
We
know.
didn't do our typical hello.
You just
There it
jumped
is.
right into it.
Sorry for it took a little bit, but
So
okay,
we
this,
get
that's better, right?
That looks awesome. That looks awesome.
Awesome.
so this is the new book you're doing with Millar?
Oh no, this is the actual like King of Spies.
Oh, this is King of Spies.
King of Spies number 4.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
this is
how
very
big
cool.
are these layouts, Mateo?
I can fit 4 in a
on an 8.5 by 11?
yeah.
What do they have over there? They have A3, right? A4.
Yeah, A4 we have. Yeah.
Mhm.
And now I'm working even bigger with the layouts. So
Okay.
I have 1 for each page, basically.
Wow.
For
Did it
Batman,
make
1.
your job easier, Matt?
Yeah, because like basically I skip the pencils.
You
Yeah, you
ink
just went-
directly from this?
I just trace what I see, like especially for One Bad Day one. Those are even more defined than this ones. So I literally like just trace them real quick.
You
And
trace
then,
them with a light box?
yeah, and then skip straight to basically to inks. And this one's for this project that I'm doing now, another Netflix book, Ambassadors. They just announced it, so I can talk about it.
Mhm.
It's even, the process is even quicker because the pages are so detailed. They're basically some of my friends told me you could just, have this as the official pages without even.
Okay, listen, Shawn.
I can
know
show
Sh-
you.
Yeah,
I know Sean's not. Mateo's not listening.
Yeah.
But I just caught him in a couple lies there. Number one, he said it goes even quicker, which I doubt. But the part that really gave him away was the fact that he's like, some of my friends, where I was like,
Yeah. Who
Yes, no friends.
other than you and I would be friends with him?
that's what I mean. That's when the needle skipped from the record for me. It just went like, rip, he's lying. These look amazing, man. Holy crap.
But some of them you can see that they're not super detailed.
For sure.
And-
For sure. So let me ask you this, because I used to do a similar process way, way back in the day, right? Like Cybernary Wildstorm days, right? My thing that I always ended up losing was that it was always so fresh and lively at this stage.
Yeah.
And by the time I got through like blowing them up or whatever, putting them to the appropriate size or whatever, some of the like the freshness, the liveliness, right, goes away.
That's the main problem that I'm facing now. It's the goal that I have in mind is to eliminate this loss of freshness between between the two steps.
Yep.
But
it also probably has a lot to do with you just having enough hours drawing that there's a level of confidence that you can just like render, right? There's a handful of things in here where you're just like, I'm not even going to worry about that because I know I'll be able to finish that when it comes time to ink it, right? So I think that's this extra step that was missing for me. I didn't have enough confidence to go in there and just be like, I don't even have to worry about redrawing this on the page, which I did, right? I redrew everything from small to big, almost 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Whereas you, I think you have enough reps where you kind of go like, okay, I kind of know how this will. I have it in my mind that when I put brush to paper, you're still using brush, no, exclusively.
No, I'm using nibs. I'm using pens now. I use whatever I have, and I wanna. The next tool that I wanna find a way to use, and I'm starting to use it for some things, but I wanna, go deeper with that. Is the chiseled point.
Sure. Like calligraphy.
Yeah, just almost a calligraphy thing,
Yeah.
like just chiseled point nib. I want to find the right one, and I want to try and do as much stuff as possible with that, or even with different, having a array of, I don't know, like 7 or 8 nibs, and just keep changing nib in
That's
order
awesome.
to attain all the effects that I want.
That's awesome. Listen, I'm gonna mute Shawn's like headphones so he can't hear you and me talking. But because you're like in this space of just like whatever works, I'm gonna try everything. Can you talk to Shawn once the show is over and tell him to just like do something else, do like new things? Because Shawn is really stuck in his old, I think, caveman ways where he's number one, he's elitist, right? Shawn just looks at something and goes like, "Is that done with a brush? No, get out of here." Like he does that, He doesn't like he immediately he doesn't talk to you. He's definitely a brush elitist. You know what I mean? And most importantly, like a specific kind of brush. He doesn't even ask what kind. He asks, "Is that done with a brush? How much did it cost?" Everything is about money to Shawn. So he's like, okay. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. Just encourage Shawn to do more different. Use more tools. Okay, so back to the show.
That. I'm glad.
Actually, I want to ask him, but we'll do it later because he has a chisel point nib that he's using that I want to use as well. So far, I tried a couple of them, but I'm not super happy with them. So I want to ask him because I saw him, and you made me try one. At a show, I don't remember if it was Seattle.
Yeah, it's the one I used. Yeah, it was Seattle. I had it there. Yeah,
this looks great. Yeah. Holy crap!
This one is more or less like the final page is it's this basically. And what I'm trying to do is I wanna reconnect with what you said earlier about the freshness and stuff. What I'm trying to do slowly is I'm getting the layouts and the final page closer and closer and closer. So I'm closing the distance. So now my layouts are bigger, and the page now, the size that I'm working on is the actual printing size.
Wow.
The
that's
final
great.
page, your final inks are at print size.
It's like literally this small. This is printing size.
That's great. That's great.
So that's
amazing.
Yeah, that's and I want to end up. What I want to end up doing is just having one thing. So my layouts are gonna be quick pencils, basically, and then I'm gonna ink over them.
Like, who did something similar?
No concern about the fact that they're gonna be, definitive. Just do it.
Yep.
That's
you're kind of like building in the confidence in that whole process, right? You're like trying to get, who had almost 1-to-1 printed page versus original page is Bruce Timm.
Darwin
back
Cook.
in the day when he would
Darwin Cook as well.
Yeah,
I saw his
originals. Was done at print size. Yeah.
And
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Let me show you.
These are great, buddy. These are amazing. Holy
cow!
Thank you for showing me.
Sorry to interrupt. Let me show you the ones, the last ones, the latest ones that I've done. I'm gonna add it to this preview, so I think we should be all right.
Isn't this amazing, Shawn? One of our most successful friends.
Okay. So these ones are the latest ones.
Yeah.
And this
Why not
one
just go to print? Why not just go to print using this?
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. Like my friends told me, just use
this.
Stop
lying, but you should go to print. Every time you say my friends, I'm like, that's not necessary. I get it. Like you don't need fake people to validate you. I believe you. These are really, really fucking good.
And Matteo, this is at print size, these in front of us?
No, these are let me show you. Sorry for going back and forth from.
No, man, this is great.
You're unprepared.
This is a treat.
Unprepared.
This is the ones that the one that you're looking at.
All right, so close to print size.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Like there's not much difference between this one.
That looks great.
And the final.
Holy cow, dude.
And yeah, so this is what I'm. You basically
know
have
what?
everything here.
You know
I
what, Matt?
actually
I
use
think eventually,
rulers and everything. So
You use rulers?
eventually this is just going to be the thing that you end up doing. In
Yeah.
my opinion,
Yeah, I was just thinking
this
the same thing.
reintroduces like such great, you know what I mean? Like this is the next step in the evolution of your work. It's just
yeah,
going to be this.
that's what
you
I
know?
think. It's everything is already there. Actually, there's stuff in the layouts that I like more than what I did in the
Oh,
final page.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But your perspective is off. Wait, go back to that last page. That guy looks so huge. Your perspective is off on that. He's just a person.
Oh shit! That's correct.
Shawn keeps trying jokes. Do you remember? Okay, we'll pause this conversation very quickly.
Lamborghini Countach.
Yeah, let's talk about like
Do
years
you want
and
me
years
to
ago when
keep
we
scrolling through this, or you want to talk?
absolutely wait no actually pause it because I don't want to miss a thing. I want to recant. I want to recall a story that we used to do back in the day when you and I first met and started hanging out.
Mhm.
You were always very sort of like careful to joke back and forth because like sometimes the jokes would just go zipping by you and you're like, oh man, I'm barely able to translate that from English to Italian into my own brain,
Yeah.
right? And similar to your art, one year you started coming back with like amazing jokes. You were just like hitting back, right, with like stuff, and I was like, oh shit, Manny's really
Something's
like
changed.
yeah, really like a number. And I guess the way you put it to me back in the day was like, I think when you have an understanding of language and when you start dreaming in that language, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I guess Mateo's dreaming in English now because that his conversational English is so amazing. But then I also realized, based on your conversation with back and forth with Shawn, you were watching more comedians.
Yeah, that's what I was about to tell you. Like, there's two factors to it. It was back then. There's been a year in which I spent like more or less like 4 months in different times in the States. So I spent 1 month. I spent 2 months between like January and March. I remember it started with your wedding. I think, or ended with your wedding, something like that. So it was yours and Jason's weddings, and I just took advantage of that, and I just decided to stay in between. So I spent 2 months. Then I spent another month in the States. Then I spent another month. So in those, in those times, my English improved a lot because I basically spoke English for almost half a year, which is, great. And on the other side, I started, listening to more and more and more comedians and stand-up shows.
Yeah.
And those, like, that's where I learned about the timing.
The timing.
And the way of saying things, in a more, interesting way.
Yeah, I agree. So the point that I was trying to make was that after you had done all of that, I was like, holy crap, Mateo's English is pretty stellar now. But also I was like, his timing and his delivery is pretty dang spot on. And that's what I'd come to recognize, like, oh, holy cow, that Maddie can now keep up with all the jokes that we do. And it's so much fun when we're all kind of joking back and forth. The reason why I bring that up is because when Shawn right now was talking about like how off your perspective was and like, oh, that guy looks so much bigger and you didn't draw him wrong, like I knew what he was trying to do with that joke, right? Here's the thing. Shawn is a native English speaker and he watches the same comedy shows as you, and like similar majority of them, right? And he is awful. He is just awful in his like freaking delivery. So what I'm saying is that you're doing great, buddy. Keep up whatever it is that you're doing. The art is obviously hands down the best thing I've ever seen you do in a long, long time.
Why Mateo's on the show today.
But like Shawn is
Eric just wants to bag on me and get me out. He's squeezing me out. It's
going to be the Mateo and Eric right now. It's so all right. So let's continue with the art. This is great.
So this is basically a test for me to see if I, can podcast with you to keep up Shawn. Okay.
100%. If we can maintain like 6 p.m. your time Thursdays, I'm happy to do it with you and get rid of the other guy.
When do you guys usually do it?
Sundays Thursdays the same day, but later in the evening because Shawn is typically working right now, and I'm working until about 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay.
Yeah, we made an exception for you, buddy. I'm glad that we did because this looks great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Go
So
back
how-
up a couple of pages. I missed a bunch of stuff.
How much time are you spending on these, Matteo? These
I do 4 or 5 a day.
Jesus Christ.
His productivity is high, dude. That's
And this is what I'm saying. Like even I'm super fast doing this thing.
How are you so
So
fast? I think that's a riddle a lot of people want to know.
I just,
He's like a kid.
I've
How
done
are you
it
so fast?
so much.
You what?
I've done it so much, and I
Yeah.
as a goal, I always, wanted to get better and better and better, and I kept doing it. And every time I'm focused on that, that's why I keep trying different things for every project. You'll never see a book that is, the same that the previous one for me.
Yeah.
Because I always try, okay, so what can I improve on this time? And I and I do that. And one of the main things that is always in my head is I want to get better in drawing, and I get, I want to keep the same quality, but do it faster.
Right. Right.
Mhm. This is great, man. I'll say this too. Like, if you went from King of Spies to this, I'd be like, holy crap, he is cranking it up. Like, it's a weird sort of like dissemination of your body of work where it went from like rendery, obviously, like as you said, like hyper accurate to where the locales are in King of Spies.
Yeah.
And then you go to this, which is not necessarily a down, it's like again, it's just like the dissemination of that work and saying like, I'm going to try it with a different kind of line. I'm going to try it with almost just like a, hey, here's just a layout approach that's going to end up and ready for print. If it was if it was King of Spies and this, I'd have been like, holy crap, Matteo is real on something. But there's that chunk of Mr. Freeze that is just like
Just don't
toilet
like
water. It's just awful. It is just the closest thing to toilet water I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, God.
And it's just really too bad. But you know what? That should be a lesson for everybody that's watching this show, the 3 or 4 people that end up watching this show.
The lesson is that Eric's a fucking asshole.
Number one, that's primary. That's
You're
near
being
the
an
top.
asshole to everyone.
That should be a given that I'm a
Matteo,
fucking jerk.
Matteo, I've muted Eric. Let's get Eric off the show, and you and I can take over.
But also,
Okay,
it goes to show.
the next thing is gonna be I'm gonna be a new guy on the show, and it's gonna be called Two Guys and One Asshole.
That's it. 2 balls, 1 asshole.
Every week, the asshole can change.
Okay, so here's my point, right? It
2
should
balls and
be-
1 dick. Of course, 2 balls and 1 asshole.
2 balls, 1 dick.
There's something missing there, brother.
So
Wait,
here's the
Matteo,
thing.
on the
It should-
double page spread, are you still working on the same size paper, just smaller?
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on that question. My point is to the 3 or 4 people that are watching this show, you should use Matteo's experience that once in a while you'll do some really shitty work, but know that you'll always be able to come back and do something like that.
Yeah,
There you go. Okay, now ask your question.
No, I just find out that if with the double spread, it could still fit the page. So I just turn the piece of
turn
paper.
the paper. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the same size. It's
I
not
got you.
smaller than
I got you.
other stuff.
This is great. Holy crap, man. Amazing stuff. I honestly, I'm with your quote unquote friends in saying that there's no sense in doing more work than necessary. Obviously, I'm a huge proponent of just like getting down to. Obviously, I really love rendering. Like I like understanding. Oh, that feels like rock. That feels like that feels like cotton or whatever it is. But sometimes you just get down to like, how do I communicate this the fastest that I can communicate this and still communicate just the right information?
Yeah, there's a value to it. To be
Absolutely.
honest, I'm finding the value in it, and I love it. I don't
Yeah.
know how much fan are gonna like it, because a lot of people need to be that overworking on stuff,
Yeah.
and to them that's the quality. It's
Yeah.
basically how much time and patience, how much time you spend on the thing.
Yeah.
But
We've had conversations about this, not on this show, but offline, about how, like, to your point, Maddie, you were like, some people see that the value, we're talking about like people who collect original art, right? They look at it and they're like, they see a bazillion lines and they're like, whoa, this is definitely worth
yeah,
whatever, like a high price tag.
yeah,
But then they'll take a look at something that's a little bit more simple or pared down or really well thought out, and they're like, oh, I don't understand why something like that would cost $1,000 plus, and then you're like, it takes skill to not render so much. And it's
Oh
not
yeah.
it's not taking anything away from like people who do render, right? But
yeah.
it
No, no, no,
does take
absolutely.
skill to, like, how much information do I put on this page so that you understand what I'm trying to communicate, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Some
yeah,
people
absolutely.
do it with a million lines. Some
Yeah,
people, like, we talked about Bruce Timm earlier, who's somewhere in the lineage of Bruce Timm is like Alex Toth, right? Like, they
Mhm.
yeah,
do a right amount, in quote quote, right amount of information to go, like, you get it, right? You understand that the light source is over here. You understand that this thing is made out of metal and not rock. They all have these little, like, ciphers to make you go, yeah, that's metal, that's rock, that's wood,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
think me personally, man, I love this stuff. I love this stuff.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
And every time I think about this stuff, I always think about Safino, because
Sure.
I know some collectors that are, they became friend of mine over the time, and sometimes they're like, since they know a lot of collectors and people that sell pages and stuff, sometimes they help me if I want to. I don't know. I want a Topi, an
Yeah.
original. So a
Yeah.
friend of mine was a collector. Was like, okay, I have a person selling a Topi for a decent price. So if you want to look
That's
at it,
awesome.
they help me
That's
out.
awesome.
And so they try to investigate about my personal taste. So
Mhm.
when I tell them, okay, like, I would kill to have a Zafino from
Yeah.
that book,
Yeah. Yeah.
they just don't understand why.
Yeah.
To me,
Really?
it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, because they don't see the value
Yeah.
on those pages. Instead, to
Yeah.
me, there's some stuff that are like, it's shocking, like
Yeah.
how good it is. But
For sure.
the standard, the average collector doesn't see it that way.
Yeah, and it's to say, like, who, like, at the end of the day, like what you like. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a collector and it's your money, go buy whatever it is that you think
Oh
is
yeah,
worth
yeah,
that money. I look at it more from like a place similar to you and Shawn, to like a place of learning. Like,
yeah, yeah,
what am I learning from this page? Why, like, when I see a page of something, I go like, why is that so attractive to me? Why does
yeah,
that, like, make me go like, holy shit, stop and look at that page or look at that panel?
yeah,
And sometimes it's the most innocuous throwaway panel, right?
yeah,
But you're paying attention to the thinking that went behind it, and you go like, geez, man, on my
yeah,
best day, right, with the right amount of sleep and the good food, I would have never thought to do that shot and do that level of rendering or
yeah,
not rendering.
yeah. The not rendering is what impresses me more,
Yeah, me too.
because it means that you knew you knew exactly where to stop, and
Yeah.
sometimes that line is hard to to draw.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I
and
think when it comes to, especially when you, again, it feels like you're starting to turn that corner again of like, where are the spaces that I can challenge myself? Where are the spaces in which I can, like, grow and really expand on the definition of my work? And I think this comes from, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but does this come from a place of like just keeping yourself interested? Because I'll speak about myself. Shawn, you jump in here, but like, sometimes when I'm drawing stuff and I've drawn not the exact thing, but you know what I'm getting at? Like, I've drawn similar things, it gets boring, right?
yeah,
Like, I just go like, I check out because I'm in my brain and go like, this isn't challenging anymore. I'm not solving a
yeah.
puzzle anymore, right? Like, I'm
Right.
not,
Right.
right? What do you think, Shawn?
Listening to all this just has me thinking a lot about the work I do, but I understand what you're saying, because I feel like when I do my thumbnails, it's all problem solving, and by
Yeah.
the time I get to my inks, there's no problems being solved, or very
Mm,
little, very few.
mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, it's just got me thinking about when I can get back to comics, how I'm going to handle this.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think that's what is that right? Is that accurate for you, Maddie, when you're like, how do I keep myself challenged with the next project? Or where's that coming from you? I mean, like you could have just as easily stayed in like a really successful place. Again, the most successful is King of Spies, Mr. Freeze. It's just like, don't do that ever again. But like you could have just stayed in King of Spies space, right? But something inside of you said, what else can I do? What's is that where you're
Yeah.
coming from? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that that's the thing that keeps me interested in what I'm doing, is
Yeah.
because especially for me, like right now, I'm just doing stuff that other people have invented and written for me.
Yeah.
But with Black Science, it was different because we were building up the story together. So I was really
Mhm.
entertained by that, by the fact that, oh, this is the moment when this guy dies, and I suggested Rick, we should kill this guy in this way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that keeps your interest
Mhm.
going
Mhm.
on the page. But yeah. Otherwise, I use this thing, which is okay. Let's investigate on this enigma, on this new problem, and let's try to
Yeah.
solve it. And so I gotta keep myself entertained, and I gotta stay away from the boring stuff. That's why,
Yeah.
like, the next goal, as I said, would be to have my layouts just be pencils, and then go straight to inks and the final. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
what I'm doing now is that there's still that moment in which I have to blow out the page and then trace whatever already
Oh, it's
done.
a pain.
So I
It's a
don't
pain.
care about
Yeah.
that process, just wasted time, and I don't
It
want to
is.
do it.
So you're like penciling and inking and then penciling and inking again.
Yeah,
right now.
that's basically what I'm doing, and I have to, what the internet has been doing the last few years, that cut the middleman, and I gotta cut some steps and enjoy the process more. I think that's the next. That's what I think I'm learning from
Yeah.
the
That's
process.
so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, Shawn and I have talked about this, like a couple episodes ago, where he was asking me what got me back into doing comics again, right? And one of the things, and I think you just hit it on the head right now, which is like I started enjoying the process. It stopped
Yeah.
becoming about like the business part of it, or how do I get my next gig? How do I, and that, by the way, that privilege isn't accessible to everybody. There's plenty of people who are just starting in their career and they have to like be on the hustle.
Yeah.
They have to go to every, bar at the end of the show. They have to, you know what I mean? They have to do all of the legwork to get you into the position in which you can be a little bit more pick and choosing.
Yeah.
Oh man, look at that freaking the brushwork in the foreground in the last panel is amazing. Like, but I think for me, I lost interest because I wasn't having fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's critically important that it's not just a job, that you're actually enjoying yourself when you're doing it.
You're right about that. Yeah.
People lose track of that all the time because of all the other things that end up feeding. Oh my gosh, I got a deadline. I got to do all blah blah blah. But if you can somehow find a way, and I don't know how many people I've talked to where number one, it's clear they're not having fun, right?
Yeah.
They're just going through the motions of getting that thing done. And more importantly, they tell me that they're not having fun anymore. I'm like, what are you doing it for? Well, obviously, because they need to make a living, right? And it's like, you got to find some way. And I think in your case, it's like, let me go experiment because that keeps me engaged. Let me go, let me find a better way of doing process. Because the thing that you described earlier, where you do a ton of research up front, break it down panel by panel into folders so you don't have to spend a ton of time. That's a maturity, but that's a utility. Sure, it informs
that's
process,
a utility. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
But it's utility, right? You're finding your way to like, how do I keep myself in the moment at the highest point of creativity?
Yeah.
So you develop this utility that you can go like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to put it into place now so that I can keep myself as engaged in the creative part as possible. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And another thing that helps, and to me, I think it's always been really natural. So I didn't realize I was doing it. And to me, it was something that you just do. And I realized after that a lot of people don't do is try to do like something that you would like as a reader. And a lot
Oh,
of people,
interesting.
yeah, it's a lot of people don't do that.
Huh.
They just don't have this point of reference.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, I remember a couple of friends, still those, friends, making fun of me because they came to my place years ago and they saw that nearby my, how do you call it? The headstand? No, like next to the small table next to your bed.
Yeah. Yeah. The bed,
Nightstand,
the
night
nightstand.
table.
the nightstand.
Nightstand. I had my books and they were making fun of me because I was reading my books. And I was like, yeah, I like seeing my stuff. I'm not jerking off to him.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not saying, I'm not saying, oh, I'm the best. No, but I enjoy watching what I do. And I
Sure.
think there's anything bad because, like,
Yeah, I agree.
I draw stuff that I would love to see in a book that I'm reading. Otherwise, what's the point,
But don't you think that also feeds into the fact that you're having a lot of fun? I think that as artists, because we are looking for places to grow, and depending on how you're programmed, you can get like I'll say this quite frankly, like my wife gets overly critical about her work.
Mhm.
She can never see, she rarely sees what I see, which is like a person who's really good at their craft,
Yeah.
clearly has a handle on the style and the presentation of what she's trying to do. She clearly
Yeah.
has like all the influences that help inform her to be an artist. And it's clear that she's got a handle on it. The lines look super confident, but because she's programmed a different way, she has a tendency to be overly critical about her body of work, which being critical about your work, I think is key. I think that's essential,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
in order to-
absolutely. I
right?
am like when I look at my stuff. Sorry to interrupt. Just real
Yeah, go
quick.
ahead, man.
When I look
Go.
at my stuff, I can recognize like I see a page that is not particularly good or a panel that sucks, and I'm like, oh shit, that sucks. I remember when I did it, I was frustrated because that day I didn't want to work. I wanted to, or I couldn't be focused on what I was doing, and I had to do like, okay, this one's gonna suck, and that's it. I don't want to, that's it.
Yeah, and you have a mechanism in your head that allows you to get through it. You're just like, we're gonna.
Yeah. Again, I'm still critical. It's really important. It's super important.
I believe.
But at the same time, you there's got to be a point in which you got to be happy. I remember. Sorry, my interruption is.
No. Go, man. Go.
But something else came to my head, so I wanted to share it. Like I play drums. I'm not playing drums anymore, but I used to play drums, and he played drums for a long time. And I remember a friend of mine who studied with me at the conservatory. He invited me to see this show. It's called the Drumeria, and there's 5 really famous Italian drummers doing a show, like only drums.
Wow.
So it was a drum set, like 1 hour and a half, just drumming, beautiful. And at the end, my friend was so like sad. He was a drummer too. And his reaction was being sad because these guys were monsters. And he was like, oh my God, they are too good. Like he was, he was demoralized by that. I was like,
right.
And then on the opposite, I was so excited because I was like in my head, the thing that I was thinking about was like, oh, I didn't know that a person could do such cool stuff with the drum.
Yes.
I can't wait to learn it. Then I never end up being that good because I focused on something else in my life. And I'm fine with it. But my immediate reaction was like, oh, you can do that? That's amazing.
Right.
There's so much potential behind that thing that I'm seeing.
What let's talk about that really quick, man. I don't know if you've made a note about that in your life, right? That's all, in my opinion. And by the way, this is open for conversation. In my opinion, that comes from sort of like a programming that led you into where you are now, right? So what I mean by that is your friend like reacted negatively or like reacted like, oh my gosh, I that's overwhelming how good that is. Whereas you said, oh my gosh, that's overwhelming, but you went the other way. That's overwhelming, but inspirational, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I'm going to use my wife as a point of reference again. Like she does the same exact thing. She sees art that's out there and was like, oh my gosh, everybody is so good. A lot of stuff is so good, even in the similar style that she does. How am I ever going to get that good? Whereas I look at something, and I think you and I are similar in this capacity. Like we look at something, like that guy is really freaking good, but I look at it as, well, if that guy can do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like why wouldn't I be able to, at the very least, like be enthusiastic about trying to get that good?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you have something in that helped inform in your life, in your history, and whatever it is, you know, you growing up, right? Like what made you go, well, that guy can do it, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like some people, I think when I talk to my wife about it, a lot of it comes from a place of like there was never really like mechanisms in her life, whether it be like like parents, fellow artists, friends that help push her to go like, whoa, that's awesome, I'll do that too. And you know what I mean? They vibe off of each other.
Yeah.
Did you have something like that?
I think like in general, what started it was probably my mom, because in her life she never had the chance. Like my grandmother, her mother, was never paid attention on what she wanted to do. So my mom's main goal was, I'm not gonna do that with my son. So as soon as she saw something that caught my interest, immediately she was like, oh, do you like that? Oh, you want to try and do it? So as soon as she saw that we saw somebody play drums, and she saw me really, excited about that and wanted to, this guy let me try and use his drums. I was really little. I was a kid. And so immediately she started like, oh, you know what? We can, try and see if there's a program or something so that you can start, doing that. This approach of, oh, you like it? Let's try it.
Yes.
That's one thing that was really helpful with that. Now,
did that carry over?
The process really natural between, oh, I like this thing, let's do it, which is something that I do, which is why I'm never embarrassed of just, if I see that you're doing something on your pages that I like, and I think that it might be a great thing for my pages, I'm going to immediately use it. I'm not going to ask myself, okay, oh, is that stealing or stuff like that? I know that I'm not a thief. I'm just, I see that you're doing something that's going to look great on my pages. I'm going to use it. I'm never ashamed of that. That's why I use some of the stuff that you do, that you used to do. I don't know if you still do it, but the motion lines, how do you call them? When you have an action scene.
Yeah. Motion lines, speed lines, any of that.
Yeah, the speed lines. Instead of filling the black spots, it's not completely filled with black, but you have, the speed lines there are bold speed lines in the black areas, and that I've been using that forever. It's because I saw it on your I think the Iron Man pages that enter the Mandarin, and from then on I keep using them when I need them.
Because I mean, this is a misnomer in like art, especially people who are really at the beginning when they're trying to establish a look for themselves, right? Here's where it falls apart. We'll talk. We'll go back to inspiration.
This page is
that's okay. We'll go back. Yeah, we'll go back to what we're talking about earlier, which is, I think, I want to address this thing when it comes to people who are, sometimes accused of stealing because they take from X, Y, and Z, right? Like they take from this source, and this source. I think what ends up happening is they don't know how to, like when you take a concept like what you were just talking about with speed lines, and you take something else from somebody that you super like, right? There's enough craftsmanship in your work and obviously the confidence to be able to find, like, I look at things like that as like puzzle pieces, right? Each puzzle piece has a different sort of shape on the 4 sides or 5 sides, right? And somebody who knows what they're doing, like especially when they steal, quote unquote, steal a technique from somebody, sometimes people just plug it in directly. And that's when it stands out. That's when you can see to go like, that's working in isolation, right? But when you look at it in context of your work and somebody's work, they don't know how to find the edges of the puzzle to make it fit correctly, so it becomes invisible.
What they're already doing.
Right. I think that's what's missing in a lot. Anyway, let's go back to the whole thing that you're talking about. So, do you think that based on that, I call it like you build that muscle to be like, hey, my mom gave me that support, right? Hey, you like it? Let's go try it. Is that something that you just naturally sort of just like inhabited now? Hey, let's try it. Now it's not about drums, but now it's about art, right? You look at it now and you're like, I'm transferring that same I like it, I'm going to go try it attitude into your body of work, so you're not sitting there in stasis and being overly critical about stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I do. It's
Yeah.
it's it's a really natural process, you know.
Yeah.
And I realize only after, you know, many people are not capable of doing that. You know, they
That's
just
actually
do,
key.
they just do without thinking about what they're doing. Really, you know, they just do to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, and Shawn and I have spoke about this before. Where like, what's great about my conversations with Shawn when we don't have a guest on is that sometimes I do that thing, and I naturally assume, because I'm a freaking asshole, right? I naturally assume that, oh, that's just inherent in somebody else. Like the way I'm thinking is similar to that person. So when Shawn reflects to me, actually, I don't know anything about that, Eric. Can you talk more about that thing? I go like, oh yeah, isn't it obvious that it's this, and this? And like, not as obvious as you think. That's why I'm having you talk about it. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I see it in other people, like especially it's when you surround yourself not just with like an echo chamber, but I think the reason why we hang out, like we fit really well with each other, not just as like not as human beings, but obviously as like artists, is because there's this process that we go through that we do that just comes very natural, and it's almost similar, not identical, but similar to the way you do it, the way Shawn does it, right? Like
common grounds.
Yeah, it feels natural. But when I take myself out of our hanging out circle, right, and I go and hang out with other artists, I'm all like, that's weird. There's a reason why I don't like. There's a frequency that isn't matching up, so it's weird hanging out with them. And I go into this space, you're just like, oh, this comes very natural to me, right?
Yeah.
And part of it, and I don't know if you can refer back to your guys' younger selves, you too, Shawn, right? Like there's a confidence that you conduct yourself now that you don't even think about anymore, because it's just like, you, to your point, Maddie, like it's just what you do now, you know?
Yeah. Right.
But if you take a moment to realize like how much work went into the thing that you're just doing now, right? I was watching a documentary about it's called The Last Dance. It's the one with Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls, right?
I heard that's amazing.
It's freaking amazing.
You haven't seen The Last Dance?
No.
Jesus. All right.
Shawn hates basketball. Anything orange and bounces, Shawn is like ridiculously afraid of. It's just like a natural, like.
I mean, he's 5'2", so I understand him.
Yeah, I think it was the time that he tried out for the Charlotte Hornets and he got rejected. You know what I mean? He didn't even get through the door. He applied and they threw his application out as soon as they saw the height requirement. Shawn, when he went to that, what do you call it? When he went to that tryout, there was a sign there like this, you know, like when you're trying to ride a ride.
You must be this tall.
The fucking carnival, for you to ride this ride, you need to. And Shawn was like right below that. You know, it was a picture of Muggsy Bogues, and Shawn couldn't even get up a step. But my point is, when I was watching that documentary, I was like, there's things that Michael Jordan is doing right now that comes so natural to him. He's not even thinking about it, and that's where the conflict with his teammates come from. The things that are coming natural, he is like expecting everybody to think and act and conduct themselves this way. But some people aren't programmed to be that, right? They have they excel at the role that they play, but there's very few people who can push as hard as as Jordan can. And I think that sometimes there are artists that we look at and then we try to learn from them, and you go like, why aren't you understanding how critical this thing is, right? And I think that's why I think there's some artists who are just like utility. They get the work done. They're amazing.
Right.
We have an appreciation for them because of that utility and their consistency, but never go to that level of like Michael Jordan. Never be the person that people are going to be like, I'm going to steal from that guy like you wouldn't believe, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think it's amazing to me that you are consistently challenging yourself in that space. And I think that's a critical. Some people are so nervous to challenge because they don't even have an understanding of what they have yet. They don't even have a grasp of it. I think you're getting into a space now where you're like, yeah, I could stay in that space. That would
Yeah.
be great. That would totally work.
It's also amazing the excuses that they created in order to keep, acting and behaving like that.
Yeah,
And
give me an
one of the main,
example.
the main excuse is, well, they hired me because they saw my stuff, so
Sure.
I assume they want to see this style because they hired me for this style, so I cannot change it, which is
Wow.
like the lamest excuse of all. Like I
Yeah.
personally,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember because you probably want to remember, but we started, we started writing to each other right at the beginning of my career. I just had one
Mhm.
book published by
Mhm.
Image Comics, was called Hyperkinetic. It was really Disney, super cartoony, like clean lines and stuff like that.
I remember. Yep.
And then like I got hired from Marvel to do some Deadpool stuff.
Mhm.
And I remember showing you the first pages of that project. And I completely changed my style, like completely.
Mm.
And I never cared. Like I told them, listen, I'm gonna change my style. I'm like, you're gonna like it, I promise you, because it's gonna be better. I'm sure,
Yeah.
like for sure that it's gonna be better,
Right.
than the pages that you've seen so far. But just let me
Yeah.
do it because I'm trust me. So
Yeah.
I gave them the heads up just to make sure. But even if they told me no, like I would have done it anyway because I knew that I wanted to do something else. And I never asked myself like, oh, would they like it or not? No,
Right.
I'm gonna like it, so they will like it because I'm doing, because I'm doing something that I like.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So
Yeah. No. I think similar to. Let's go back to the point that you were making before, which is like the lamest excuse, right? I try to look at the individual who says something like that, and not knowing a ton about them, sometimes you can sort of like extract the kind of personality that they are,
Yeah.
I don't think that comes from. I think that comes from a place of comfort. I think sometimes. So I'll give you an example, and this happens to. I think this has happened to us in one capacity or other. In one capacity or another, you guys tell me. Like sometimes when somebody calls you out on a picture or an image that you post, somebody goes like, "That's nice, but you messed up that bicep. That's nice, but like they always call you out on these anatomical things, which is
Well, it doesn't
ridiculous.
happen to me because my stuff is perfect, but
We'll get back to that. So here's the thing. Somebody calls you out on anatomy, and and especially after they
Somebody
do that, you
called
go
Eric
back to,
out on anatomy.
let me isolate it to me. You guys are fucking brilliant. You've never drawn anything anatomically incorrect. Amazing. Left nut, right nut. You guys are amazing. So here's the thing. Like,
Let the dick.
so like, so like when you go back and look at their work and you go like, oh, you're at this part of your journey, right? In your development as an artist and illustrator, you're in this space. And the reason why that is so important to you is because it is the metric in by which you decide, hey, this is right or this is wrong. Right.
Right.
Anatomy is the thing that you hold on to like a rail in a slippery set of stairs. If I hold on to this rail, I will always know that I'm going to be okay. Right.
Right.
So when somebody gives me that anatomy note, I look at their work and I go like, oh, I know why you say that note. You're absolutely right. Right. And so I don't disagree. I say, you're right. Absolutely. I did not draw that bicep perfectly. I did not draw those set of back muscles perfectly because that wasn't my intent. Right.
Right.
And I think similarly, when somebody goes like, oh yeah, I got hired for this, I should maintain this. They are looking for the safety.
yeah.
Right. They're looking for the handrail that makes them go, this is the thing that I know works, and I want to maintain the thing that works. Right. And I think a lot of it has come from like you just said, like, I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to change this style, and I promise you it's going to be better. I need you to trust me, and I'm just going to go and do it. Right. That takes a level of, it's not even confidence. It has a lot to do more with like initiative, right? Where you're like,
Right.
I'm going to try this because it's the thing that I'm going to try.
Yeah, it's not confidence. It's like I need to do that.
Yep.
So
Even if it's a failure, right? Even if it's a failure, because that's interesting.
And I'm sorry you're here now, so you're gonna drink from this new cup, but that's that's what's gonna happen because I need to do that. You know?
Well,
Because I can't do again what I was doing back then. That's gone to me. So
it comes from a place of like, who do you serve? Like some people are just soldiers. They need the commander. They need to serve the commander. So in that case, the editor or the publisher, and they're going to do what's expected of them. In other cases, some people who are more leader types need to serve that voice inside themselves.
Absolutely.
But that's the difference.
Yeah, but sometimes this person, in private, they talk to me about their need to do something different, and then I'm like, okay, so this new project, you're gonna do something different. Well, it's just gonna be, they hired me because of that, so I'm not gonna do it now, but the next project I'm gonna do it. And that's exactly like we call it here. I don't know if this exists. This saying exists in the States as well. Is the next Monday diet. When it's Wednesday, and you're like, oh,
I'll start on Monday.
Diet, man. So, Monday, my diet will start. Why not now?
Right.
Because it's not, you don't really want to do it, and you're finding excuses. So now Monday is the perfect day for diet,
But number one, that's freaking hilarious. Number two, I don't appreciate you sharing our private conversations. That's not cool, man. Just keep it between you and me. That was via DM only. Like I like what I like, and I'm nervous about everything. So please don't tell people. But I guess it's too late. All right, we're over by 12 minutes. That's a great way to tie. Wait, there's more pages. Let's scroll through the page because I really want to be able to hype this thing up. This is for the new book that's coming out for. Is it still with Millar?
Yeah, they just announced it. It's gonna be 6 issues, and each issue is gonna be drawn by a different artist. Yeah. So it's gonna be Frank Whiteley, Carl Kerschel, Travis Charest, Olivier Coipel, Matteo Buffagni, a fellow Italian. And then I'm going to draw the last chapter. And then the second arc is going to be drawn, I think, entirely by Pepe Larraz.
Sure.
That's Spanish.
Sure. That's
How
amazing.
did you get in the mix of those artists? Do you wake up wondering that yourself?
Shawn is trying jokes right now, and it's amazing. He's trying. He is where you were a decade ago with the jokes. He's doing everything that he can. Did you recognize that Shawn only piped up the one time with like multiple sentences? You see what I mean when I say like carry? Like otherwise Shawn would just sit here and look at you. This is great.
Yeah, man, that's
I'm excited for you, buddy. This is so freaking amazing.
I'm basically spoiling the whole issue now. I'm realizing all now.
It's inspiring to see.
But you said that just 3 people are gonna watch it, right? So
exactly. And that's
the
three of us all over again.
Like people are watching now, or are you gonna
no. It's not live.
Then upload it. Okay.
It's not live. We'll upload it.
So can you blur all these pages? No. So basically, you're not gonna see anything.
All right, let's trash this podcast, and when Mateo's gone, you and I will record a fresh one.
Absolutely.
We don't need this.
I didn't even hit the record button. I gotta be honest with you. I just wanted to talk to Matty. This is great, bud. Thank you so much for sharing. I think this is over by 14, but 14 minutes well spent. Thank you, dude. We're going to hit
this window here. We can go back to the. No, I'm still sharing it.
We're going to stop sharing now. Here we go. There it is.
Hey, awesome. Here we go.
Here we go. We're going to play the outro, and Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks to Maddie
Thank you, guys.
for spending time with us. And hopefully we can do this more consistently. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
This is the Ink Pulp Podcast. This is the Ink Pulp Podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.